They say Brazil dances to its own rhythm. It's a place where skyscrapers rise beside rainforests, where faith meets carnival, and where every sunrise feels like it belongs to a different world. You can wake up in a futuristic city that looks like it was drawn with a ruler, and by nightfall find yourself drifting on a river surrounded by tribes who've never used a calendar. Covering nearly 8.5 million square kilometers, Brazil isn't just the largest country in South America, it's practically half the continent itself. With more than 200 million people, it's a blend of races, sounds, and climates that defy any single description. From the endless green of the Amazon to dry plateaus and golden coastlines that stretch for thousands of miles, this land is a living contrast. Brazil is wilder than most of Europe combined, yet more urban and restless than many parts of the United States. Its biodiversity is unmatched, but its cities, São Paulo, Brasilia, Rio de Janeiro, move with a pulse that never slows down. What makes this country truly magnetic isn't just its beauty or its size, but its soul, a paradox of extremes. A nation where people live for today, yet dream in colors too bold for tomorrow. A place that feels both deeply ancient and endlessly new. This is Brazil, unpredictable, untamed, and impossible to forget. Amazon and the tribes who live in the present. What would life be like if your language had no past and no future? In the heart of the Amazon, the Pirahan people might have the answer. They don't count numbers. There's no 1, 2, or 3 only ideas like a little and a lot. Their words never wander into yesterday or tomorrow. Everything exists in the now. When they talk about hunting, they simply say, "I go hunting," even if it happened yesterday. For them, memory is not a story to keep. It's just a feeling that fades when the sun sets. Their lives are woven tightly with nature. They fish and gather only what they need for that moment, never storing, never hoarding. If there's extra food, they share it. They trust that the forest and the river will provide again tomorrow. Anthropologists call them one of the happiest tribes on earth because they live almost free of worry, anchored only in the present moment. Deeper in the jungle, the Suruaha tribe follows a similar rhythm. They live without metal, money, or ownership. Their tools are shaped from wood and bone, and their homes blend into the forest around them. What sets them apart is their spiritual world, a belief that the trees and ancestors still speak through the sap of sacred vines. During ceremonies, they drink or inhale this sap, entering a dreamlike trance where they believe the spirits guide them toward balance and peace. And then there are the Karubo, fierce guardians of their land, often called the head hitters. Their weapon is a massive wooden club, and their warning is silence. They live almost entirely cut off from the modern world, moving with the seasons, attacking anyone who dares to step into their territory. Each of these tribes writes a different verse in Brazil's living poem, a book with pages written not in ink, but in tree sap and forest wind. So tell me, which life would you choose? To live simply with just enough for today, or to keep storing for a tomorrow that never truly arrives? Unsolved mysteries of Brazil? A lake that disappears without a trace, then returns as if it never left. A ghost town where the sound of metal echoes through empty tunnels. In Brazil, mystery isn't a story from the past, it's still happening right now. In the dry heart of Bahia lies Lago dos Negros, known to locals as the Lake of the Black Men. During the scorching season, it drains away completely, leaving behind cracked soil and silence. Then, with the first rains, the water returns full, deep, and alive, even when the rainfall isn't enough to fill it. Scientists have spent decades studying the phenomenon, suggesting theories about underground caves, hidden aquifers, or shifting fault lines. Yet none can explain why the lake breathes in and out like a living thing. Locals say an ancient spirit lies beneath it, imprisoned by the gods, and every time the water vanishes, it rises to taste freedom for a while. Travel 2,000 kilometers south, and the mystery grows darker. In the grasslands of Rio Grande do Sul stands Mina do Camaquã, once one of South America's busiest copper mines. In its golden years, over 10,000 workers lived here, a town with theaters, schools, and bright lights in the middle of nowhere. But when the mine ran dry, everyone left. Today, all that remains are hollow buildings and tunnels that descend into silence. Yet visitors swear they can still hear the clang of metal echoing deep below. Even stranger, magnetic sensors placed in the tunnels record erratic spikes, as if something unseen still moves beneath the ground. Some scientists blame minerals, but others argue the readings are far too strong. Locals have their own answer. They believe the spirits of the miners never left, still swinging their tools in the dark, forever chasing a vein of copper that no longer exists. Between science and legend, Brazil keeps its secrets well. So what do you think? Hidden caves and magnetic fields? Or something far older and far less willing to be explained? Brasilia, perfect on paper, challenging in real life. A capital city shaped like an airplane, built in just 41 months. Was it a masterpiece of modern design or a gamble against human nature? Brasilia, the heart of Brazil, was meant to be the city of the future, and in many ways, it still looks like one. In the late 1950s, architect Lucio Costa sketched an audacious idea, a city laid out like a giant aircraft, symbolizing progress and flight. The body would hold the National Congress, the Presidential Palace, and the Supreme Court. The two wings would stretch wide across the plateau, filled with homes, schools, hospitals, and shopping districts. When construction began in 1956, it was an enormous challenge to carve a metropolis out of empty land in the middle of the country. Yet less than 4 years later, the dream took off. UNESCO eventually named Brasilia a World Heritage Site, calling it a masterpiece of modern urban planning. From above, its symmetry is breathtaking: curved highways, geometric parks, and monumental buildings aligned like musical notes on a score. But perfection on paper doesn't always translate into comfort in daily life. The city's zones are so strictly separated that living, working, and relaxing all happen in different sectors. Wide, multi-lane roads connect everything, but sidewalks are rare, and walking anywhere feels almost impossible. Brasilia was built for cars, not for people. Locals joke that you can drive for miles without ever seeing a cafe on the corner or a crowd of pedestrians. Its architecture is a symphony, precise, grand, and technically flawless, yet missing the pauses where life breathes. So, which would you choose? A city of logic and order, or the messy human chaos of narrow streets that somehow make you feel at home? The three faces of Brazilian nightlife. A night in Brazil can last all the way until sunrise. Here, darkness doesn't mean silence, it means rhythm, laughter, and the glow of neon on smiling faces. Each city brings its own flavor, and together they form the most vibrant nightlife in South America. In Rio de Janeiro, the soul of the night beats in the historic Lapa district. Under the white stone arches of the old aqueduct, hundreds of bars and music clubs spill into the streets. The sound of samba fills the air, the kind that makes even strangers dance together. Street performers, drummers, and couples moving to the rhythm create a chaos that somehow feels perfectly choreographed. Order a caipirinha, Brazil's signature cocktail made from sugarcane liquor, lime, and ice, and you'll understand why Rio never sleeps. Move to Sao Paulo, and the energy shifts from passion to sophistication. This is the city that never stops: 12 million people, endless lights, and a heartbeat that echoes through Vila Madalena, the center of its nightlife. Here, street art covers the walls, live bands fill tiny bars, and craft beer flows like conversation. Rooftop lounges stretch high above the skyline, where you can sip a drink and watch the city pulse below a sea of light that refuses to fade. It's electric, cosmopolitan, and always awake. Further north, in Salvador, the night takes on a different rhythm. In the colorful Pelourinho district, drums echo through cobblestone streets as musicians play samba reggae, a mix of African beats and Latin melodies. People gather in open squares to dance, sing, and celebrate their roots under the warm coastal air. It's raw, cultural, and full of soul, less polished, more powerful. So, what kind of night calls to you? Are you the one who dances barefoot in the streets of Rio, or the one who chills on a rooftop in Sao Paulo, watching the skyline sparkle while the city hums beneath your feet? Culture shocks, and the art of connection. Hold someone's gaze for 5 seconds in Rio, and you might get a kiss. In Brazil, connection happens fast and close. It's not unusual, it's culture. The first surprise for many travelers is the motel. In most countries, it's a cheap roadside stop for truckers or tired drivers. But in Brazil, a motel is something entirely different. It's built for couples, rented by the hour, and decorated with imagination that borders on fantasy. Some rooms glow with colored lights, others have ceiling mirrors, jacuzzis, or even small stages for themed roleplay. It's playful, not shameful, an open celebration of intimacy that feels both bold and natural. That same openness shows up in everyday interactions. Brazilians stand close when they talk really close. They touch your shoulder, your arm, your hand, not to invade your space, but to show warmth. They speak quickly, loudly, and with emotion that can sound like an argument, even when it's just excitement. Here, conversation isn't about exchanging words, it's about feeling connected. And honesty? It's disarming. If you've gained weight, looked tired, or changed your style, someone might point it out instantly. But don't take it as rude, it's a form of care. To them, pretending not to notice would feel insincere. It's a culture built on contact, eye contact, physical contact, emotional contact. In a world where people often hide behind distance, Brazil leans in. So, how would you feel living in a country where the space between you and another person is almost zero? Confidence and the Brazilian idea of beauty. When curves become a symbol of national pride, you know beauty means something different here. In Brazil, confidence isn't just admired, it's a lifestyle. This is a country that has shaped global beauty standards in its own image. Brazilian women have won major international pageants again and again: Miss Universe, Miss World, Miss International, Miss Earth, claiming all 4 crowns. But beyond trophies and titles, beauty here feels personal, expressive, and deeply cultural. Perhaps nothing captures that spirit better than the famous Miss Bum Bum contest, a celebration of the most beautiful behind in the country. To outsiders, it might sound strange, but to Brazilians, it's playful, empowering, and unapologetically proud. It's less about perfection and more about confidence, the courage to own who you are. Self-care is almost sacred. Weekly manicures are a ritual, not a luxury. It's about respect for yourself and for others. Even body hair is treated differently. Instead of removing it, many women bleach it to a golden tone that blends with their sun-kissed skin, giving a soft, glowing look under the tropical light. In love, Brazilian women are known for their warmth and passion, but also for their independence. They value connection, not control. Many don't wait to be pursued, they take the first step, knowing what they want and who they are. Beauty in Brazil isn't about a single mold. It's about movement, expression, and pride in individuality. Here, confidence outshines symmetry every time. So what about you? Do you see beauty as a universal standard, or as a personal story only you can define? The flavors of Brazil. A nation with a stew of memories, born from leftover cuts of meat that's Brazil in a single dish. Every flavor here tells a story, one that blends history, struggle, and joy into something unforgettable. The country's most beloved dish, feijoada, is far more than food, its heritage in a pot. Made from black beans simmered with pork, it traces back to the 16th century when enslaved Africans used discarded meat from colonial kitchens and turned it into something rich and comforting. Over time, Portuguese and indigenous influences shaped the recipe into the national treasure it is today. Served with rice, orange slices, and sautéed greens, it's now a weekend ritual. Most Brazilians eat feijoada on Wednesdays and Saturdays, almost like clockwork, honoring a rhythm that's lasted for centuries. Then there's pão de queijo, the little cheese bread that defines comfort. Made from cassava flour instead of wheat, it's chewy, warm, and slightly crisp outside, a product of necessity that became a symbol of ingenuity. It was first baked in the 18th century when cassava was the staple crop, and now you can find it everywhere, from street corners to airplane trays. And to end on a sweet note, brigadeiro. These chocolate truffle-like bites were invented in the 1940s during a presidential campaign. Supporters of Air Force Brigadier Eduardo Gomes made and sold them to raise funds, and the treat quickly stole the spotlight from the candidate himself. Today, no Brazilian birthday party is complete without them. 3 dishes, 3 edible chapters of Brazil's story, one born from resilience, one from creativity, and one from sweetness that lingers. So, when would you schedule your feijoada? Wednesday or Saturday, just like the locals who never miss their ritual of taste and tradition? The economy of everyday life, where even a meal can be paid in installments. In Brazil, you don't have to buy everything at once, not even dinner. From the latest iPhone to a plate of steak and rice, almost anything can be paid for in pieces. The habit isn't a luxury, it's a survival skill. Prices in Brazil are notoriously high because every product carries layers of taxes: import tax, service tax, consumption tax, and sometimes even taxes on top of taxes. By the time something reaches the store, its price can double compared to the United States or Europe. A phone that costs $1,000 abroad might sell for more than $2,000 here. Meanwhile, the average worker in big cities earns around $400 to $600 a month. With numbers like that, few people can afford to pay the full price of big purchases. So instead, they divide payments into 6, 10, or even 12 monthly installments. You'll often see price tags that read 10x $100, meaning 10 payments of 100 reais each. For most, it's the only realistic way to keep life moving forward. Banks and retailers have turned this into an art form, offering credit plans linked directly to stores. And in small towns, the tradition takes a more human shape: handwritten notebooks at local shops, where owners record what neighbors owe and trust they'll pay when they can. It's an old system, based not on contracts but on reputation. Brazil's consumer engine spins like a set of gears, turning slowly but constantly, each installment a small click that keeps the machine alive. So what about you? Would you rather take one big bite and finish fast, or savor life one slice at a time? Inequality and Rocinha, hardship and hope side by side. From the window of a 5-star hotel in Rio de Janeiro, look up at the hillside, you'll see another world. In Brazil, wealth and poverty live just a few blocks apart, divided not by distance, but by destiny. The country's richest 1% earns more than 30 times what half the population makes combined. Luxury apartments overlook narrow alleys, and ocean view penthouses sit above communities struggling to afford clean water. Nowhere is this contrast more visible than in Rocinha, the largest favela in South America. At first glance, Rocinha looks like a patchwork of rusted roofs and red brick houses stacked tightly across the hills. The alleys are so narrow that two people walking in opposite directions must turn sideways to pass. During the rainy season, floods sweep through, carrying mud, trash, and the smell of life lived close to the edge. But within this maze beats a rhythm of resilience. Rocinha is alive, buzzing with barbershops, tiny restaurants, grocery stalls, and community schools. Graffiti murals bloom across the walls, telling stories of struggle and pride. The sound of funk karaoke, Rio's raw and energetic street music, echoes between the buildings. Despite hardship, there's joy here, and laughter that seems to rise in defiance of gravity. In recent years, local initiatives have turned Rocinha into a place of learning rather than fear. Guided community tours now take visitors through its heart, showing daily life while supporting local businesses. Tourists can share meals with families, visit art workshops, and see firsthand the creativity that thrives where resources are scarce. It's not about pity, it's about perspective. Rocinha proves that beauty doesn't always come from perfection. Sometimes, it's born from courage and community. So tell me, should tourism be a bridge that connects lives, or just a telescope to look from afar? Travel smart and live well in Brazil. Beautiful and radiant, Brazil rewards those who explore wisely. It's a country where color, sound, and energy surround you at every corner, but a little caution makes the experience unforgettable for all the right reasons. When walking through big cities like São Paulo or Rio, keep your valuables discreet. Locals rarely use their phones while walking, and for good reason. Petty theft can happen in crowded areas, so take photos quickly, then slip your phone back into a pocket or bag. If you need to get around, use ride-hailing apps like Uber or 99, which are safer and fairly priced. Avoid random taxis waiting outside airports or tourist spots. At the beach, the danger isn't the waves, it's the arrastão, those quick grab and run thefts that can happen when large groups rush by. Locals often carry only a few reais, an old phone, or a room key, and if they go swimming, they'll ask someone nearby to keep an eye on their things. Trust and community go a long way here. In markets like Feira Hippie in Rio or Mercado Municipal in São Paulo, always check prices before paying, and don't be shy about bargaining. A friendly smile and a little humor often get you a better deal than arguing ever would. As for costs, Brazil's living expenses vary depending on where you stay. Renting a one-bedroom apartment in central São Paulo runs between $600 and $900 a month, while smaller cities cost around $250 to $350. If you cook at home, groceries for one person average about $100 to $150 monthly. Public transport costs about $1 per ride, or you can take a short Uber trip for $5 to $10. Internet bills hover between $25 and $35, and private health insurance ranges from $50 to $150. In the end, Brazil is a land of contrast and wonder, a beautiful paradox. One foot dances under carnival lights, while the other stands barefoot on the damp soil of the Amazon. Both are equally real, equally alive, and equally Brazil. So, if you had just 7 days, which side would you choose, the rhythm of the city or the whisper of the forest? Next up, Rio versus São Paulo. Where should you go first? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next journey into this remarkable land.